I admire your courage, Miss...
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
From the moment James Bond first appeared on screen in 1962's Dr. No, audiences were enthralled by his suave sophistication, deadly precision, and unflappable cool under pressure. But a hero is only as memorable as the villains he faces, and the 007 franchise has introduced some of the world's most iconic adversaries in cinematic history. Today, we'll take a look at 5 James Bond villains whose roots lie in reality. Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld. They told me you were assassinated in Hong Kong.
Yes, this is my second life.
You only live twice, Mr. Bond.
No Bond villain looms larger in popular culture than Ernst Stavro Blofeld, the bald-headed mastermind stroking his white cat as he orchestrates chaos from a high-tech lair. Often portrayed as the head of the shadowy organization known as Spectre, Blofeld has been played by an impressive roster of actors, including Donald Pleasance, Telly Savalas, Max von Sydow, and Christoph Waltz. But behind this iconic figure lies the real-world inspiration of Basil Zaharoff, a Greek arms dealer whose dealings in the early 20th century earned him the ominous nickname the Mystery Man of Europe. Zaharoff built a vast fortune selling weapons to both sides during wars, manipulating conflicts to his own advantage, a trait that mirrors Blofeld's penchant for engineering global turmoil for profit and power. Zaharoff's reputation for secrecy and influence made him the perfect model for Fleming's vision of a calculating and elusive villain. He traveled among Europe's elite, forging ties with royalty, bankers, and politicians, yet remained shrouded in rumor. His name often surfaced in whispers about bribery, espionage, and political manipulation. In much the same way, Blofeld's Spectre operates from the shadows, pulling the strings behind events that threaten world stability. Fleming's genius was not just in borrowing Zaharoff's character traits, but in amplifying them into the archetype of the ultimate criminal mastermind. Even the name Blofeld has its roots in reality. According to cricket commentator Henry Blofeld, his father, Thomas Blofeld, attended school with Fleming, who later admitted to borrowing the surname for his villain. Auric Goldfinger.
Fort Knox is a bank, like any other. Larger, better protected perhaps, but nonetheless, a bank.
It can be. I think the expression is blown.
My plan is foolproof, gentlemen. I call it Operation Grand Slam.
The purpose of our 2 previous encounters is now very clear to me. I do not intend to be distracted by another. Good night, Mr. Bond.
When Bond confronted Auric Goldfinger in the 1964 film that bears his name, audiences met one of the franchise's most unforgettable villains, a man obsessed with gold to the point of madness. Portrayed by German actor Gert Frobe, Goldfinger's gleaming fixation and audacious plan to irradiate the U.S. gold reserve at Fort Knox instantly made him a cinematic icon. Yet this fictional tycoon was not entirely the product of Fleming's imagination. His origins stem from a peculiar blend of personal feud and real-life figures who embodied greed and ambition. The story begins next door to Ian Fleming himself. In London's Hampstead neighborhood, the author once lived beside the modernist architect Ernst Goldfinger, whose avant-garde designs and demolitions of Victorian buildings infuriated the traditionally minded Fleming. Disgusted by what he saw as aesthetic vandalism, Fleming retaliated in literary form, naming one of his most detestable villains after his neighbor. The real Goldfinger threatened to sue upon learning of the character, prompting Fleming to cheekily offer to rename him Goldprick. In the end, the dispute was settled quietly, but the damage, or the fame, was done. But Goldfinger's obsession with wealth and gold may have drawn additional inspiration from Charles W. Engelhard Jr., an American industrialist known as the Gold King. Engelhard built a massive fortune in precious metals and was rumored to wield influence in global markets. Like his fictional counterpart, he was charming yet ruthless, and his fortune derived from the glittering allure of gold. Elliot Carver. Though the character was fictional, his inspiration was drawn straight from real life, namely Rupert Murdoch, the controversial head of News Corporation, and the late Robert Maxwell, a British media baron whose name has since become synonymous with corruption. Carver's portrayal as a manipulative press magnate was a deliberate reflection of anxieties surrounding media monopolies. In the 1990s, Murdoch's global reach through newspapers, television, and film already raised concerns about concentrated media power. Likewise, Maxwell, who owned the Mirror Group and was later exposed for embezzling hundreds of millions from his company's pension funds, embodied the reckless ambition of media moguls who saw truth as an inconvenience. Francisco Scaramanga.
I did not hire you to interfere in my affairs. Is that clearly understood?
Oh, yes, very clearly.
I now regret having even considered employing your services, but that is beside the point. Bond doesn't know you're in Bangkok. He's never seen you, but he knows me. That's the problem.
That's no problem.
Few villains in the Bond universe are as stylish or lethal as Francisco Scaramanga, the man with the golden gun. Played by Christopher Lee in the 1974 film, Scaramanga is a professional assassin whose weapon of choice, a golden pistol, became one of the most recognizable props in cinema history. But while the character's precision and elegance made him a fan favorite, his origins were rooted in Ian Fleming's personal history. Fleming drew inspiration for Scaramanga from his own youthful experiences at Eton College, where he was allegedly bullied by a fellow student named George Scaramanga. The name was unusual enough that when Fleming resurrected it decades later for his assassin, few could mistake the connection. Other reports claim the character was inspired not by Fleming's tormentor, but by Peter Scaramanga, a school bully who had targeted the author's nephew, Nicholas Fleming. Either way, the result was a villain whose name carried genuine emotional weight. Franz Sanchez.
Well-traveled man. You did all right at the tables tonight.
I had the feeling my luck was about to change.
Well, it's a wise gambler who knows when his luck is run out. Why this?
In my business, you prepare for the unexpected.
And what business is that?
I help people with problems.
Problem solver.
I'm more of a problem eliminator.
By the late 1980s, the Bond franchise sought to reinvent itself for a grittier world. Timothy Dalton's portrayal of 007 in License to Kill presented a darker, more vengeful Bond, and his adversary, Franz Sanchez, fit perfectly into that landscape. Played with a smoldering menace by Robert Davi, Sanchez was a drug lord modeled after real-life figures who defined the decade's criminal underworld. Chief among them, Panama's dictator Manuel Noriega. Noriega ruled Panama with an iron fist from 1983 until his overthrow in 1989. During his tenure, he amassed immense wealth through drug trafficking, money laundering, and political corruption, while maintaining close ties to both the CIA and Latin American cartels. His lavish lifestyle, paranoia, and brutal methods made him one of the most infamous leaders of his time. The parallels with Sanchez are unmistakable. Both men cultivated an image of sophistication while running empires built on fear and violence. The timing of License to Kill's release was no coincidence. Noriega's reign was collapsing amid scandal and U.S. intervention, giving the film's storyline a sense of real-world immediacy. Robert Davi's portrayal captured that duality of charm and cruelty, one minute dispensing loyalty gifts, the next ordering grisly retribution. The movie even echoed the broader anxieties of the late 1980s as Western media fixated on the rise of international drug lords like Pablo Escobar and Noriega. Although the film performed modestly at the box office, it's since been recognized as one of the series' boldest and most realistic entries. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these real-life inspirations behind Bond's greatest villains surprised you the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.